Good, how about you?
Bye week. Let me start off by saying, first of all, what a great plan Portland State had against us running the ball. Obviously, when you give that many yards rushing, they had a good plan. They executed it very well. They blocked us at the line of scrimmage. They blocked us at the linebacker. We didn't play smart. We didn't play great. We really got out-coached, and I'll take responsibility for that, especially on defense. Defense, we were out of line. We were misaligned. We were wrong in our keys and wrong in our our fits, and we paid a price for it. And the price is that we have one loss. The season's not even halfway done, and there's still a lot ahead of us. Nothing's been decided at all in the Big Sky Conference, and we're excited about having a week to get ourselves a lot better, especially on defense.
You said after the game that you're going to change some stuff on defense. Is that
Yes, sir.
alignment or scheme, or what do you mean by that?
All of it. Yeah, we haven't changed a lot. We've just redefined it. We began page one, day one, alignment, footwork, keys, what our intent is, how we're going to safeguard ourselves defensively in all facets and all ways. And I already really like what I've seen in 2 days of practice, and so I'm excited where we're going to be able to go. And I think we have an outstanding linebacking core, and when our linebackers don't lead us in tackling against a wishbone team, we're probably not playing good defense, and we didn't play good defense, and now we will.
So it's not so much, or maybe it is, it's like, I don't know, retooling, but it's just kind of getting back to basics and reformulating.
No, it's a little bit of retooling,
Yeah, okay.
A little bit of more emphasis on principles and foundations that I believe in, as opposed to maybe what we've been teaching. We're just going to do it my way.
What are those principles and foundations?
Read your keys, get to where you belong, defend your gap, fight off the block, low man wins, pad level works, gang tackle, run to the ball, keep your eyes up, have great discipline. You have to have better eye discipline, especially when you play against an option offense like Portland State.
Was this kind of a wake-up call for you guys to get back to your principles, I guess?
We've made an off-season transition from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3, and it's the first time we've played against an option offense. And in our conference, Portland State and Cal Poly will teach you great lessons if you haven't already learned them. And we didn't learn them until after Saturday's game. So a very good learning experience for our coaching staff on Saturday. Not necessarily the players, because I think the players played extremely hard and played as hard as they could in the confines of what we were teaching, but what we were teaching is incorrect, and we've got to correct it.
You knew the run was coming, I assume. So I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how do you not stop it? I guess that's, you know it's coming. So what was going on that you weren't able to stop it?
Coaching, me. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's a fair question.
What did you do that you didn't like?
We didn't play at all positions the way we need to play against option. It's just it's simple yet it's hard. It's conceptually different, and we wouldn't notice it by playing against our own offense because our own offense is so dissimilar to what Portland State does. So there was a fallacy inside of our defense that wasn't going to become evident until we played against a style of offense that got exposed. That's a very complex answer to a very good question.
And so this kind of retooling and adjusting, is that mostly against the run, or is it against the pass? Is it against everything?
It's mostly against the run,
Yeah.
because when you have when a quarterback is the second option on a running play, and then there's a pitch element added to it, that's something our offense doesn't ever do. And so we put this new defense in last year in March. You know, our quarterback and pitch was never a threat, and now it's now been defined. And I think we're a lot more cognizant of where we belong and what we need to call and how we need to play it throughout my defensive coaching staff. And I'm proud of the fact those guys now we're able to assimilate what I want, because obviously the adjustments we made even in game last Saturday were inadequate. I think they ended up with 531 yards, and they had a pitch that went backwards for 25, and we tackled them for a loss on like one play. And so if you add those in as positive plays for them, they might have had 700. The numbers were obscene, and the way we played was tantamount to that, and that's my responsibility And I believe that we've taken a giant step forward to making sure that when we face that style of offense again, we'll be way more adequately prepared.
What have you thought of the pass defense overall this season so far?
Well, we've been beat down the sideline at corner. We have not contained the quarterback. We've got a long ways to go yet in our pass rush and defending the deep ball. And those are the two basic foundations of pass defense. One, don't get beat deep, and two, don't let the quarterback squirt out of the pocket. So those two things have been absent also in our defense. Our defense has got a long ways to go, and it's great to have a week off to work on a game plan against Northern Arizona, because even though Northern Arizona's lost their quarterback with a broken collarbone, they're still very good on offense, very good in their offense line, and very good at running back, especially at wide receiver.
Coming in season, you were excited about the defense and how well they were doing in practice and stuff, but right now you're 13th in rushing defense, 9th in total defense. So are they performing below what you expected coming in?
Well, we've only played 2 conference games, so we'll always couch all the statistics in only our conference games. But our conference game rushing is probably worse than those statistics would say when you give up 531. So the loss of Rasheed Williams has been very tough. It was very akin to losing Mario last year. He's he's irreplaceable, and we'll wait for him to come back. And then also the additional loss of John Raheem down at Colorado has been something we've not been able to overcome. So again, hopefully John Raheem will come back. Of course, Rasheed Williams will redshirt and be a part of the Bengals defense next year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Northern Arizona. I know that's down the road a little bit, but does their offense change at all, or their kind of game plan change at all?
No, their game plan didn't change at all. Their young quarterback came in and just kept running the same stuff. He's not as good as Cook. Case has been a pretty nice player, at Northern Arizona. And I think, another game experience for the young quarterback will be very positive for them. One of the other things that we add back to our defense is Nico Hayes comes back at safety. That allows us to move Tyson Manu more closer to the front, where he can make tackles. And in fact, if you'll recall, maybe last week, Tyson made some great plays at or near the line of scrimmage against the run, and that's where he's really the most effective and can be a really dynamic player for us there.
Special teams. I mean, you rank most of the categories ranked at the top of the Big Sky and near the top of the FCS. I mean, what specifically, I guess, have you changed as far as that has gone to? That's a pretty serious improvement.
Well, I think you always gauge the overall health of any football team by looking at its kick teams. Mm-hmm. I guess in the medical profession, you look at the overall health of a person by looking at their hair, but I don't know if that's evident. But I think overall, the health of our football team is very good because our kick teams are performing not at an exceptional level, but at a consistent and considerable level, as opposed to last year when we were sick. We were ill. Oh my gosh, we were almost a terminal patient last year on kick teams, and it bled into the defense. Whereas this year, kick teams have been very, very stable, led by Braden Mitchell out of Idaho Falls, and of course Andy Whittier out of Century High School here in Pocatello. Just 2 guys that are not necessarily in the 2 deep on offense or defense, but they're solid players. When we go out to kickoff return, punt return, those guys are the soldiers that are making the plays.
Offense, what are you thinking about them so far?
Again, the band keeps getting broken up in the front. We don't make the same music every week, almost sometimes every series. And we can't stay consistent in the front. Skylar Phillips has not returned to action, will not return to action in the considerable future. And we'll start taking a look at whether he's going to play any more this season at all. The same thing is true with Chase Collins, who is now lost for the season. So we've lost 2 frontline guys in the front, and the beat goes on. So what you have to do, the positive thing is that Dorian Keller's really doing a nice job with our front. His first year as our offensive line coach. And we've had some guys start to rise, particularly freshmen. Jacob Molinar's played very well for us as an offensive left guard, and Talon Collins has played exceptional for us at center. We see Brian Finney-Anganofo play his 2nd start last week of his career, and he actually finished the game healthy. So we'll try and keep that going at left tackle. Right tackle, we're going to look more at Garrett Smith being able to play a little bit with some other guys that are floating in and out of there, and then Thomas Vazorka, the old man, the 4th-year senior at right guard, just continues to play pretty darn well. And our pass protection was okay last week. Tanner ran the ball 9 times, not because he was under duress, but because he wasn't all the way through his progressions. when he decided to scamper upfield. And Tanner running with the ball is not necessarily a bad thing now that he's able to survive it. And at 235 pounds, he's a load once he gets rolling. So there's an element to our offense that's going to come from the quarterback's ability to run the ball now that we haven't necessarily had in years past. So I like our running backs. We didn't play well enough at wide receiver last week to beat anybody on the outside, but those two corners at Portland State are very, very good. One's been a 3-year starter, a 2-time All-Big Sky player, and the other one started the national championship game for Oregon 2 years ago. So those guys are a little more of a caliber beyond us at wide receiver, and they played like it last week.
Tanner running, is that something you want to start incorporating all these dual threat quarterbacks? Is that a thing?
Not dual threat.
Okay.
The ability to run his mistakes out,
Okay.
and that's what we call it a quarterback. Now, we don't necessarily want to use a Tanner as a run threat, but we want him to be able, if he's not going to get through his progression, to run with the ball and save himself. And all young quarterbacks have to have that ability to do that. Now, not an experienced quarterback. They never get to that point. But when you're a quarterback and you get confused or get through your progression and are able to run yourself safe and we get another series of downs, then you're able to extend drives. And last week we saw Tanner able to do that. He scampered for 3 first downs, which was good, bad. More bad, good. So I like his progression. He's about right where he needs to be midway through his sophomore starting season. I think in a couple games he will be one of the more dangerous quarterbacks in this conference. But it's going to take a couple more games for him to clean up some ills that he still hasn't quite gotten sawed off yet.
It's got to be frustrating on the offensive line to never quite be fully healthy and now lose Chase and Skyler.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, you just can't. It's like a rope team on a mountain. You know, you keep changing people on the rope, pretty soon you fall. And those 5 guys, they've got to be able to be in communication. If you look at all the great teams we've had ever here or anywhere else, we've always been able to keep those 5 guys. We'll keep the band intact. Again, the Beatles, we're not the same after or any band is not the same. You start losing a different singer and a different guitar player. That's why we call it a band. It's very, very much the symmetry of a rock and roll band.
Does this bye week come at a good time for you guys?
Extremely needed. What was needed was for us to play against a wishbone team like Portland State, so we could see that we weren't set yet. And then to have a week after it is extremely fortunate for us, for our entire organization, because defensively we'll get ourselves reset and we'll play much better on defense.
I know you're not exactly halfway through the season with this bye, but looking at the first 2 Big Sky games and the rest to come, what have you seen from your team and what do you expect coming from them after the bye week?
Well, there's 6 games to go. Nothing's been decided. So I expect us to play with great enthusiasm for what can possibly be. One loss doesn't knock you out of any type of race. And again, we're still undefeated at home, although we don't come home for a while. I don't know what we did to the scheduling gods to get into this situation where we play only 2 home games before we get to a couple more weeks here. So it's life on the road. Life on the road in the Big Sky Conference is not easy, and life on the road against good football teams is not easy. Portland State and NAU were 2 of the premier teams in the conference last year, and I expect them to continue to play like that at home. And
previously you said you didn't know the identity of your team very much. Do you know yet?
Starting to feel it, especially on offense, where we're really starting to settle in at quarterback. He's going to continue to not do everything perfect. Because he's still seeing some stimulus response things that he's not quite sure about yet. Tanner Giller, our quarterback, but I like where we're getting in our offensive line, even though they're young guys, they're now experienced. I like where we're getting out of our receiving core, especially the inside guys. Josh Cook and KW are just outstanding football players. Ja'Cory Ford and our running back core continue to elevate themselves. We've got to be able to sustain drives. Last week in the third quarter, we stumbled, or the second quarter, we stumbled, and we continued to stumble our way through the third quarter until we found our footing again deep into the ballgame, which was fine to see because Portland State didn't suck. We scored those 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter against their best guys, and so I feel good about the progress we're making. I wish we would make it a little faster.